Okay guys, like we said, we're doing this so that we can have an audience for our webinar. And so any questions you have, Chris is gonna be the main speaker. I'm gonna introduce them. If you have questions, we're gonna send them to Logan, and Logan's gonna put them on a big screen. And then I will repeat them, but it's gonna be mostly just on Chris. So take notes if you think of something along the way. It'll be helpful. So, good morning. So I am here in downtown Brighton. I have the privilege of hosting this webinar with Chris Vish, who is the owner-operator of our Brighton office here at Wentworth Real Estate Group. And Chris has personally done over $20 million in sales individually, and then started running a team and has been very successful with his team and grown it into a location in downtown Brighton. We're super proud to have him as part of the Wentworth team. And so I introduce you to Chris Vish. So Chris is gonna do some day in the life of real estate training and some high level stuff to how to win in real estate. So I introduce you to Chris Vish.
Hello. All right. Here we go. So thank you guys all for coming. I think most of you probably know me. Some of you have just met me, but I'm Chris Vish. I partnered with John last summer. He took over this space and basically kind of just with a local face for this office. I originally started in real estate as an individual agent that was on a team. And then I moved into being a solo agent, and from there I took on a buyer's agent, and then an admin, and then a couple more agents, and eventually we grew to have a pretty good sized team. And we decided to partner with John so that we could leverage our forces together, having administrative office and marketing team, and all those other pieces that would allow us to kind of focus on doing what we do best, which is meet people, talk about real estate, sell real estate, and train and elevate the other people around us. So it's been great so far, and it really is helpful to kind of alleviate that burden of some of those pieces as a team leader so you can really focus on what's important. It allowed us to do a lot of things that we wanted to do better, and I think we brought a few people over that have partnered with us, and everybody's doing great right now. So I think like I said, the proof is in the pudding, right? And it's just been a great transition. The spring market's starting right now. Everything's kind of taken off. We're seeing great economic indicators, and we're just trying to be ready for those things, okay? Let me see here. What else? Everyone wants to talk about leads, right? We have Zillow leads. We have internet-based leads. We have leads from 3 other lead aggregation sources. We have a lot of sign call leads. We have 30,000 leads in the pond that we allow all our agents to work. All these things are great value adds that we bring, but the biggest piece of the puzzle is elevating your skill level so that you're using leads when you want to, not because you have to. Leads are how you start and build the business, and then you kind of transition out, right? And expand that business. That's very important. If you don't have a way to kind of get up and running quickly and develop those skills alongside other people doing it, it's a lot harder road to hoe, and I've done it. And we try to help people not have to endure that and really just be in an environment that is productive and forward-facing and having a lot of focus on success and relationships. So those things are very important to us. I think what we're really going to try and cover today is a day in the life of a high producing agent. And this is not like a daily schedule per se. These are just things that are very important to make your focus on how you do what you do and where to put your energy and where to maybe not waste energy. So I kind of want to get into it here. Step 1, right? A morning routine. Everybody here should kind of have a rounded out morning routine so you are controlling your day. You are on offense, not on defense. The biggest step to controlling your morning is to have your plan set out for the next day, the night prior. So take all your thoughts, all your action items, write them on a piece of paper, whatever it is you might need to do, And then you know when you wake up, you're gonna do whatever those essential things are in your life, whatever they might be, but you know where your business day starts and you know what time it starts. If you do that, you're gonna get that consistency, and that's what's really gonna help you do that. You have to have those things ironed out so there's no kind of wondering, what did I forget? You know exactly what you have to attack, and then you can hopefully get those kind of fires put out and be able to step in and start working on prospecting, follow-up, lead generation, those kind of things that are actual business expanding activities. We can all get lost in the details very easily. The sooner we get that stuff put to bed, the faster we can get back in business for the day. That's very important. So you want to wake up, review your day schedule, whichever time you choose to do that. Some people get up at 4 in the morning. I typically am up by 6. I don't get up at 5, sorry. But 6 o'clock is when we start. I normally check my notes and kind of get going and just jump right into it. Because we have a lot to do outside of real estate activities. We have all of our kids and our family and all that stuff. It's all very important. So we have to make sure that we're getting those things in around those other activities. You know, the kids can't drive to school yet, so we're gonna have to drive, right? It's been a little cold. So we have to make sure we're doing those things, and we're doing those things consistently, and we're doing those things at a high level. I always look at the stuff that has to get kind of beat down, those fires. The faster I get that done, the more efficiently I get that done, the faster I can get back into working in the business, right? And that's what you have to do. The next thing that's very important is making sure that you have a set time when you're going to start addressing your emails. I typically address my emails before I'm vertical in the morning, unfortunately, because there's a lot. But know when you're going to start doing that, and have a pattern on how you're going to deal with those. Even if the response is, I'll get back to you, at least you're having a response on those emails, and they're going to come back, and you're going to have time to address those later, but you're not letting that sit till it gets forgotten about later in the day. So have a clear attack plan. I think in terms of prioritization, it's definitely, you're going to reach out to anything that is going to fall off the rails first thing in the morning, right? Intra deals, those kind of problems. And then the next focus is going to be prospecting. So if you get all the things that could go sideways, handle it early, you don't have to worry about them the rest of the day. We probably have all heard it a lot, but do the hard part first. You know, whatever phone call you're dreading, if you make that call or email right off the rip, it's done. You don't have to have your day filled with dread. You can get back to doing what you do really well. So prioritize those things, get those things knocked off, and get back to having real estate related conversations and handling the business. If you're not talking to people about real estate, you're not really doing anything, unfortunately. You know, you're just dealing with problems. Dealing with problems is not where we find success. Being able to do it quickly is where we do, right? Lead generation is probably, you know, numero uno once we've got everything kind of written off and we're ready to really get after it for the day. Lead generation can be new business, can be pond, can be old leads, can be making the referral ask. But have a set time period in your day, if at all possible, to make these things happen. As your business grows, you will find that you have less time to do these things and you have to be even more forceful about protecting it. But if you want to have a high level of success in this business, you're going to have a high level of conversation in and around this business. There's no other way about it. If you don't want to make calls and you don't want to talk to people about real estate, you may want to consider working on your resume. That's just the unfortunate truth. Most of the stuff we're going to talk about today is very, very simple to comprehend and very, very difficult to implement at a high level day in, day out. That's just the nature of the beast. And the people that have mastery in this business are the people that are able to do the mundane things repeatedly over and over and over again. That's how you're going to make it work. So you have to really put your focus there, okay? As soon as you can start making phone calls, start making phone calls. 9 a.m. is when most people think it's appropriate to call. Some people start calling at 7:30. I don't know if that's the best time. You're not going to get the best me at 7:30. I can tell you that. But 9:30, if you can start making those calls to try and set appointments. You have to set appointments to have a real conversation with real people and try and figure out what their needs are and how to best service them. If you're not focused on trying to find opportunities for service, If you're chasing transactions or closings, you're probably not going to have the success, and they're not going to have the experience that you both deserve. Make sure you're focused on being a problem solver, facilitating solutions for people that have reached out to you for those things. You have to have that thinking, that thought process has to be kind of ingrained in you. People get lost in all kinds of other things. If you're solving problems effectively, you're going to do well. That's just how it is. It's a byproduct. Success is that byproduct. The next thing we're probably going to talk about is once we start having these conversations, we start connecting with people, people start picking up the phone, now they have to understand that we're the professional. We have a great deal of knowledge that we want to share with them. So we have to make sure that we have said knowledge. So we have to watch the market. We have to know what we're selling. We have to know how houses are built. We have to be able to compare and contrast different styles of construction. We have to be able to understand if we have an inspector that has an opinion we don't agree with, we can ask a question. Maybe they've missed something. We have to be able to express that we have that knowledge and that these people now have access to all that knowledge because they have access to us 100%. But you have to know what's going on in the market. You have to know what's going on in an area. You have to know what's going on in terms of the school districts and those things to an extent. You have to be able to answer questions for people, and the only way you can do that is by truly kind of studying and becoming a little bit of a real estate buff, right? We have to know these things. I get a lot of questions, and if I don't know the answer, I'm suddenly fascinated with that, you know? I want to learn that because I don't ever want to not have the answer, right?
Right. So we do have a question. How can a team help you with what you don't know? Or where do you get the information when you're brand new in the business and you don't have the expertise yet?
That's a great question. So how working with a team can help you alleviate many of those issues, accountability being one, but even within these transaction spaces, understanding the different situations within a market, a product, whatever that is, we have 50 agents that are all actively in the business. So if they have an interesting or unique situation, it's brought to the team, and now the team can learn at a 50x rate. We have agents that are doing all kinds of different interesting transactions, and those solutions that they have worked with a partner or whoever that might be within the team that they derive, they can share. And now everybody knows, hey, if I run into this problem, this could be a solution. So it's going to really rapidly accelerate your learning rate. And then having regularly scheduled trainings, we have an opportunity in an open forum to talk about these, see what the team thinks about how they went, and really understand there's more than one way to solve a problem. Which way fits best in this situation? That's super ideal if you're trying to learn as a new agent. You can gain years and years of experience in a period of months. There's no better way to fast track that than having a direct network to agents that produce 10, 12, $15 million in business a year, all the way down to somebody that's brand new that sees something new. Those people can bring questions to the team that educate everybody. You know, there's no dumb question, right? That will help elevate us all together. That's the biggest focus when it comes to team training, is everybody has something to learn. Most people that agree to lead trainings do it because they want the feedback from other people in the training so we can learn as well. I love to learn from other agents on the team. I love to learn from new agents because there have been questions I haven't thought about or haven't encountered yet. And so that's a great question, yeah.
Very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So kind of moving into client communication. When we have the skill set to make sure that we can connect with clients and have those conversations, and then we have the market knowledge to make sure that we are market professionals and we can answer those questions, now we're going to move into client communication. Client communication is being able to express our knowledge in a way that the client can understand. And sometimes we have to ask and answer tough questions, and we have to make sure that it always comes from a place of service and education. I mean, we were talking earlier before this training started about talking to a client that may know more than you do, or may not like what you have to tell them, and you still have to tell them. You have to know how to present that to them, but if you're being honest and you're not being malicious in your delivery, ultimately they're going to have to understand there's things that work and things that don't work, and this is how things are done. Communicating that point, that can be different, and you have to understand the people that you're working with. We do pretty extensive personality training, so you can understand how to interact with people in terms of where they fall in a DISC assessment. Karen led a great training on that 2 months ago. And knowing how to interact with those people and how to frame the questions and answers to those people to give them a comfort level and make sure they understand the information is critical. Because if you have all the skill sets but you cannot communicate properly, that's going to create issues for you. No matter what your message is, if it can't be heard, it's not relevant. So we have to really focus on communication, personality types. We do a training on working with buyers for the first time, identifying the influencer, identifying the pain points, those kind of things. The sooner you can connect with that client and have a clear flow of information back and forth, the sooner you can resolve any of the issues they have and come to a solution that helps them. So communication is really key. Communication within the interesting other agents, let's say, you have to learn how to communicate with them as well. So we really focus on making sure that we're maintaining our relationships with other agents within the market. The other agents that you work with, could be on a daily basis, should find it a pleasure to work with you because of your professionalism, timely responses, and your courteousness. You should be able to relate to those people. That will help you figure out how to have more cohesive transactions for your clients. All these relationships are all things that have to be managed, and it's kind of on a daily basis. And so that's really where things have to be centrally focused in all the aspects, because a high producing agent can talk to 30, 40, 50 people a day. They have to be able to have meaningful conversations with all those people so they know the information being expressed and what we're trying to get done here. I think that's a huge portion of what we do. In terms of training and education, we will coach and train on all those things. And we have a regular training schedule that we regularly are revising and looking at where are pain points that agents, seasoned or new agents, are having. All of these topics that we've discussed so far have all been parts of training in the last 6 months. We've addressed every single one of these points, and we'll continue to do so because we have agents that are coming in all the time, need to learn new skills, and we have agents that have been in the business for multiple years and need to keep refining those skills. Everybody's got room to improve. So having a regular training schedule, if you are not involved with a team or office that has a regular training schedule, make time in your schedule on a weekly, monthly basis to find a training resource that you like and at least be learning from them, whoever that might be. It's very important to always be working to better yourself in these things, okay? You got another question?
Yeah, so could you talk a little bit about accountability on a daily basis? Once you get into the business and you have some transactions and you have a lot of other high-level things happening, can you talk about what you would maybe make sure that you get done in every single day as an accountability factor?
Absolutely. I mean, I think accountability is probably the piece that agents need the most and like the least, right? As salespeople, normally our personality does not lend well to that kind of having a checklist and an expectation. We like to talk to people and make things happen, but we're kind of like a hose just spraying it everywhere with no focus at that point. The accountability systems that we've done work on a daily basis, and there's a set list of tasks that you as an agent are going to want to get done every day. It's in terms of calls, texts, emails, appointment set, social media posting, all those things. We have established kind of a clear guideline it's always in revision, but at least it's a basis line of how much activity should we be doing to continue growing. As we get busier, it's very easy to fall off of that kind of pattern, and then you're going to experience a period of success and a period of trying to get back in business, so to speak. And if you can really force yourself with accountability or accountability partners, accountability systems, to constantly keep that in the forefront, you won't have that lull in business that some agents, especially newer agents, experience, where they come in, they get going, they do very well, and then from there it's I got very busy and now I don't have any business, and then I got very busy, and you get on that roller coaster, and it can be really stressful as an agent to even understand, why is this happening to me? If you're not mindful of what's happening, because you're not consistent with your acquisition of business, your business won't be consistent. You have to put in to get back out to that machine. So having an accountability set up and a tracking means a really powerful CRM, accountability partners. That's the only way you're gonna make it through a highly busy season without letting some of those things fall off the cracks.
I have another question. What is the best resource you found for the market knowledge? Like, where do you find information on Brighton, Michigan? And if you're showing homes in Ann Arbor, where do you go for that knowledge?
So I do a lot of research, just simple Google, but honestly, that's another benefit of having such a large team that is spread out in so many markets. You have resources where you can ask those questions, and it feels like whenever somebody is looking at a type of property in any market, there's two people that have already done that transaction within our office, and we have an instant resource that's actually been through a transactional process there. It's not just simply reading something online. You can actually identify the pitfalls or where your client could struggle in a transaction, and having that as a resource in-house, it makes a huge difference. But typically I'll look at like local Facebook groups, I'll Google different things about a market, like if it's Ann Arbor, you're looking at parks and things that are opening, new businesses closing, businesses relocating, those kind of things, because it's a much bigger market. Livingston County's had a lot of changes in the last 3 or 4 years as well, especially coming out of a lockdown, businesses going away, new businesses coming. And so you can accomplish a lot of that on different Facebook groups and on Google, really. But I really like talking to other agents, especially within the office, because you just get a lot of wealth of knowledge, and they're going to want to share with you because you're going to share with them later when they need it.
Yeah. So maybe collaboration is the
Absolutely.
key. You're going to have to be able to work with other people and collaborate on all different levels.
Absolutely.
It reminds me of when Grant Cardone got dropped in the middle of Arizona with just a car and $100. Like, if you were an agent, that's kind of how you feel. Like, nobody's there to take you through the school of like what you do every single day. So let's just play that out for a second. If you were dropped into a completely different market, what's the first thing you'd do?
I'm not shaving my head like he did. Just so we're clear. I need this.
Okay. It works for you.
The first thing I would do, honestly, this is a huge resource. I would go to social media. I would see what's going on in local Facebook groups. I would figure out, what a pain point is for people in that community, because there's always something. And then I would start looking through different classified sources if I couldn't post my license at a brokerage, and I would try and figure out some people that I could assist on whatever portion of real estate could be. And usually those things snowball because, again, you're putting energy into a system, it's going to come back out. But that's what I would do, is I would just go straight to social media. I would find Facebook groups. I would find local radio stations that have posts online about grand openings, those kind of things, and I would use it as networking opportunities. I would make sure that I had contact information that was clean, and a clean social media profile, so people could pretty quickly figure out the kind of person that I am, and I would connect with as many people as I could, as fast as I could. That's going to be the key to success in that scenario. It's the key to success in this scenario too.
Very good. So that brought to mind for me like a mentor-mentee relationship, because sometimes that can work to help accelerate the time frame that you're working. So did you have a mentor when you started, or?
I did basically not have a mentor. I
Okay.
basically failed forward, struggled with everything, worked a ridiculous amount of hours every day. I did a ton of research, social media, trainings, podcasts, everything I could do to absorb the information.
Yeah.
And kind of, it's really the hard way to do it. If you have the opportunity to partner with an agent that has a lot of experience and needs help with heavy lifting, that's the way to do it. I mean, we internally, as you know, we do a lot of partnership between the senior agents and newer agents that work and walk through transactions together. Man, that sounds like the best thing ever that I didn't know existed.
Yeah.
It was a lot harder if you just kind of start out on your own and you're out there in the middle of the ocean.
So real estate has, you know, a lot of different attributes of where you can work. What would you recommend if I'm brand new? Do I want to work on going to go listings right now? Do I want to try and work with buyers? Where do I want to kind of start out and get my feet wet in real estate?
Listings are typically a lot harder to get proficient at quickly. So the focus normally for most agents that start is to work with buyers, because the buyer's agent cycle doesn't offer as much of a hesitancy as it does with a listing agent, because they're looking to acquire. They're not giving away their biggest asset, as many people think of it. So the focus normally is going to be on buyers, and then when buyers have listings they have to sell as well, you're going to want to consider reaching out, co-listing, or partnering with an experienced agent to sit the listing appointment with you and help you through that transaction. That way you make sure it goes smoothly. And I think a lot of people think there's a stigma with partnering with another agent on the listing side from a listing acquired from a buyer, but it just doesn't really exist, because from the client's chair, he's looking at, wow, I just hired 2 people for the price of 1. This is great. They don't mind that at all. But we have this kind of personal pride where we don't want to ask for help or involve people in transactions. And a lot of times it's not what's best for us or the client. Mm-hmm. So the ability to have people that are willing to partner with you on these listing side transactions is huge. That's what I would do. I would focus directly on buyer needs, and associated listings come, I would partner with a senior agent until I felt I had the experience level to properly service that listing client.
Okay, very good. I actually want to open it up. If anyone has a question here, let us know what the question is, and we'll get it to Chris. Anybody have questions that they want to get answered about getting their business started, or maybe when you do get your business running, and it's more of a roller coaster, how to streamline it? Actually, I'm going to ask that question. So sometimes people get into real estate and it becomes this roller coaster, and it's because the way the commissions are, the independent contractor status, all that. How do you smooth out that roller coaster? I'm talking financially. So how do you smooth out the roller coaster when you're new to the business?
So the big thing to keep in mind is to always, right, there's busy and then there's productive. And sometimes people get busy and mistake it for productive. We don't necessarily rise to the occasion. Typically humans will fall to the level of their training and systems. So if your training and systems are solid and are in place, that's where your baseline bottom is going to be. Most of the people that experience the roller coaster get busy with the transactions they have in front of them, and they're not working to constantly procure new business. I had a great conversation years and years ago with a friend of mine that's in our industry. The advice has always served me well. It says basically we set ourselves up like a machine. We enter new business in the front, we have support in the middle, and out the back come successful transactions. We always have to be focused on loading the front end of the machine, because if we stop doing that for a couple days, nothing's coming out the back. And so we always have to be working on acquiring new business, new relationships with other agents, whatever that might be. And you have to keep in mind that sometimes the relationships you're working on building don't immediately produce fruit or transactions. They could be intra-agent relationships, builder relationships. So if you have a relationship with a builder and you're going to build 4, 5, 6 houses with them, None of those are gonna close tomorrow because they haven't even been built yet, but you're planting seeds. You're still loading the front end of your machine. You always have to be focused on reaching out and connecting, despite sometimes you can get really, really busy. And if you get to a point in your career where you've got 5, 10, 15 pending individually, it's kind of hard to feel like you're gonna get some air. You have to find time to still be reaching out and connecting with new business, whatever that might look like. That's where it comes from.
Okay. We have a question?
Yes.
So as a new agent, how do you convince people to work with you who know you, but also know that you're like brand new and green and you don't really know anything? Like even friends and family, because you're dealing with people's most valuable asset and you're supposed to be a fiduciary for them.
That's a great question. So there's two answers to that question. The first answer is if you can start your business with inorganic leads, like from a source like Zillow or Realtor.com or any of these kind of lead aggregation sources, those actually are great because you don't have people that are in your circle that maybe know you as I've known you since you were this big and that's how I still see you. They're just connecting and you're meeting them at the property. Now you're actually facilitating, you're a gatekeeper of the property. And through that process of doing those transactions repeatedly, posting and sharing your successes, that will aggregate your people to come to you. I mean, that's the easiest call to take about real estate, right? Is the one that's inbound. Hey, can you come help us, right? That's way easier than making the ask. That's the first point of focus, and I think how we've gotten a lot of people successful in a really short period of time. The second answer to that question is if it is somebody in your sphere and they say, you know, well, you're just starting out or whatever, you say, that's not a problem at all. I got senior agents that are happy to work with me in this transaction. You'll have both of us working for you and nothing will possibly fall off the table. I mean, realistically, that's a better deal for your client than just having a senior agent. They're still hiring a second set of eyes. And that's the two approaches for somebody that's starting out brand new in the business. Have those conversations, get people to meet with us and the senior agent you like to partner with, whoever that could be, right? And we'll all set a meeting, we'll all talk about it, you know, and we do that fairly regularly here. And getting the repetitions of transactions and having those things working for you, now you're gonna start attracting business instead of chasing it. It's a great question.
One thing that I thought of while you were saying that, because I know the way you dress every single day is you think about it before you do it. So talk a little bit about what an agent that has no dress code should wear to work every day.
So I have some agents that I know that are very good agents, and you know, maybe they don't like to dress for the part. For me, I basically never leave the house unless I'm dressed business casual. I always like to have a good outbound appearance because unfortunately, people that you don't know well will instantly associate that. And it's like if you go to the doctor's or the dentist's office and the dentist comes in wearing a tank top and flip-flops, you're probably going to have some questions. People are going to start drilling in your head, right? And is that fair? No. Is it reasonable? Yes. People have a reasonable expectation of who they're going to meet when they hire a real estate professional, because it still says professional. So I believe very strongly in always dressing the part. I may have a little bit of, some people say excessive clothing collection, but I like to have stuff for every season and make sure I'm coordinating. Somehow magically, I always wear the same blazer John does about 50% of the time too. So great minds think alike, hopefully. But I think it's very important. Our offices have a dress code, and it's for that reason, because you never know who's going to walk in the door. And I can tell you from watching other agents, whenever you're not ready to go or you're just trying to do something, it seems like that's when your phone's gonna ring.
100%.
Yeah, I can meet you on the way there, but I'm just dressed like a hobo because I was doing yard work.
Yeah.
We just took the focus right off of what we're here for. That's the house, right?
Yep. Okay, we have another question.
What do you do every day to give yourself a win? Especially with how it's very doom and gloom in the real estate market right now. A lot of people need wins. Newer agents are trying to get things done. What do you do every day to give yourself a win and make it feel like it's a positive day?
That's a great question. I am dreadfully, terribly, awfully, constantly positive, optimistic. I always find something positive, and the big focus for me, I think, to do that is to not engage in conversations or hear conversations that are not positive or solution finding. People will want to vent to you about negative things and whatever, and I tend to be sometimes brutally abrupt in, hey, what's the real problem? Let's talk about how we fix it. Let's just turn this frown upside down, guys. What can we do here? We can all be upset about something, and that's going to accomplish exactly nothing. Let's focus really hard on that. So for me, I think a big win is truthfully not engaging in negative talk, negative speak, or negative self-talk, and always looking at what I have in front of me that is positive. I mean, I have a lot of good things in my life that I've worked really hard, I think, to build. I've got a great family, fantastic wife, and I absolutely adore all that, and that's my focus. I don't let anything negative creep in if I can avoid it. I mean, I can get real forceful. I think most people around me know I don't really love whining, like at all. There's always a solution. Let's find it. That's where your focus has to be.
All right, we have another question.
Yep, another one came in. It is for newer agents, how important are open houses, and how do you identify if you've had a successful open house?
That's a great question, and that's an example of how the real estate market is never the same. 2010-ish to 2020, open houses were a punishment for naughty buyer's agents that didn't do things that they were supposed to do, and they got sent to go do an open house because somebody's got to hold this open house. And then the lockdown happened, and then the lockdown ended, and you have people driving around that don't have agents. They're looking on social media apps, they're looking on Zillow, they're looking on Realtor.com, popping in and out of open houses. And you can get a ton of activity and traction in open houses right now. I typically try, personally, my listings, I try to price them very competitively, so it works out very well for the seller, and it works out very well for the agents holding them, that they're not sitting there alone, worrying about keeping the cookies ready. They're all day long, they're 2 or 3 hours, they're seeing a ton of new people, having conversations, meeting people that are with their agent. You get to meet that agent and make a relationship with that agent. So I think that open houses are absolutely stellar for new agents. It's a great opportunity to learn about a home, and then on a face-to-face basis, talk about that home with a consumer and make sure that what you're saying resonates with that person, understand the normal buyer's concerns that maybe you haven't thought about. We have a lot of new agents now that are entering this industry that have never owned a home before. So it's an opportunity for them to gauge what are the concerns of that home buyer, since I haven't been one just yet. It's a great opportunity. And in terms of how successful it is, your sign-in sheets or however you're collecting those people's information, to follow up with them, let them know how the process on that is going, what else might be coming up within the brokerage, within that market, that neighborhood, that area. It's another great opportunity to have conversations. There's a lot of focus on conversations and everything I'm saying. If you're not having real estate related conversations with other people that you're either learning from or trying to work with, I'm not sure what you're doing. Open houses are an amazing opportunity to do both.
All right. We have another question. Nice and loud.
As a new agent, how do you, the work life, professional life balance? It just seems so all encompassing when you're new. How do you find that balance?
So that's an interesting question. I am not the most amazing person to talk to about balance. If you want to talk about success and conversion rates and that, I'm probably your guy. But when it comes to balance, I'm not it. And for a new agent starting, if you look at it, if you were to go to medical school and then do an internship and then do a residency, I think you can probably guess what that schedule looks like. And what if I told you that if you're a top 20 realtor in the country, you're going to make more than a top 20 doctor in the country? So you have to break that inertia. And when you're first starting out, you are going to have to work very, very hard. There's no such thing as free or easy money, and this industry is the same way. But if you work very hard and very thoughtfully and very productively at the same time for a period of time that you've committed to, normally people see like at that 3-year mark, every new agent that I've met at the 3-ish year mark, it's like, oh, my mom called me about her friends listing, and that outbound calling turns into inbound calling. I'm probably 80% inbound calling right now. I've missed 5 calls while we're sitting here. And that's how your business can turn. But you have to work very, very hard and very, very specifically on the areas that you want to grow and develop your business, and then it comes back. It's just like it's career inertia.
How often, when you're starting out, obviously the most important thing is being out in the face of the public and being involved and getting out there, but how many hours like at your desk would you recommend, not necessarily at your desk, but at the office when you first start out?
So to be in office, you can be 40 hours a week in the office and always have an opportunity to learn from what is going on. If an interesting situation arises with a transaction, that's a great learning opportunity. If you're in the office, you're probably going to be a part of it. If you're not, you're probably going to have to rely on somebody to remember to recall this to you or share it with the group. We do a pretty good job of that. There's a lot of pieces that'll fall off the table. That's kind of the importance of being in the office. Being around other people talking on the phone, hearing what their conversations sound like. You can learn a lot from listening to somebody do something that you're struggling with doing or seeing them do it. So that's kind of the benefit of being in office. In terms of being like at your desk in the office, if you work very, very hard, 2 hours a day, 6 days a week in an office type setting, like I am setting up shop, I am making all my calls, doing my follow-up, doing all my emails, and work very, very hard and purposefully on that, you'll find that your activity level is higher than 90% of the agents in the industry. And you won't be able to do that for very long because you'll be struggling to keep an hour, you'll be so busy. And it's always the same thing. Do the work correctly, purposefully, and it starts to work. It doesn't work the first day or the first month, but after a while, you get much better at it. You get a much better response. And when that starts happening, the business turns around, and then you get this 2-3 year period of time that has passed where you've started to see a de-escalation and how much actual pounding the phone you have to do to now you're taking the calls. You're getting the opportunities that are coming back to you. That's where the focus has to be. All your transactions are an opportunity to show people how committed and how good you are at what you do. You can tell somebody, I can run fast, I can jump high. Run fast or jump high, and then they know. It's the same thing as working hard. And they see how good you do, and they're like, man, you have got to call. I mean, I have a lot of clients that are, hey, they're looking for something. I told them they got to call you. They can't talk to anybody else. Like, that's an advocate. You've taken a client and made them an advocate. You can't beat having an advocate in the family. I mean, that will grow your business fast. That's what it looks like. But again, starting out of the gate, plan on working very, very hard, and then reaping your rewards down the road a little bit.
All right, I think we got another question.
Yeah, this one's especially for newer agents, and we've been seeing it a lot. Objections coming up. It seems the past year has been about dealing with objections. But for people saying that they're going to wait for the crash or rates to drop, how do you handle it, or do you have some verbal framing or word tricks that help you out with dealing with those objections?
So the first step with any of those objections that you don't have a high comfort level in dealing with, and as a newer agent, there will be a lot of them that you don't have a high comfort level with. The first response is always going to be, what makes you say that? Because we have to understand why they think that. And the more things you say that have a question mark on the end, the better you're going to be able to direct the conversation for clarity and get the information you need to figure out, what's going on here. So step one is always going to be, if you don't know what it is, what makes you say that? Now they can't just give you a canned statement, maybe they heard on TV, market's falling apart, we're all gonna die, whatever today's news garbage might be. They're gonna have to get in depth with you on why they think that way or why they selected that soundbite to carry with them. And you're gonna get the crux of the problem that way. We've been hearing about, if you've been in this business any period of time, we've only been hearing about a market crash every year since 2008. And unfortunately, I can pull some pretty solid historical data and show you that there hasn't been a crash yet. I've got clients that you can't convince, and they've been waiting 4 years for the market to crash. I'm relatively certain if they had the opportunity, 2020 interest rate and purchase price looks very good to them today with looking what they have in the market now. So I think that's probably the initial response. The other thing that you can do is Google the problems with buying real estate. You're going to find all those objections pretty quickly. Look them up yourself, understand and own your response yourself. So if somebody has a question that you're not clear how to answer, get clear on how to answer it before they answer it, or ask it rather. It's not hard to maybe figure out the top 10 questions you're going to get right. Rates, right? Market crash, those things. Well, research them and figure out why you agree or don't agree with what they're saying. If you agree with the client's objection and point of view, it is okay to tell them that. I agree with you. Here's the pros, here's the cons. You don't have to disagree or dissuade them from all of their opinions, because a lot of their opinions could be valid.
Well, I think you bring something really good up in that, because we're in real estate sales, but when you're looking at your potential client customer, what is the main focus that you have? Is it to sell them a house, or are you trying to problem solve something for them? So tell us a little bit about that versus you're not trying to sell a group of purses to somebody or a product that's specific.
Yeah, we're not selling refrigerators or whatever that purpose specific thing might be. 3 goals: establish a relationship, figure out the problem. It doesn't have to be a problem, but it's a problem because then it has a solution, and really only problems have solutions. The problem is I want to live closer to my family. The problem is I don't like taking care of how big my house is right now. I don't like taking care of it. Whatever that problem is, and then let's find the solution. If we can't make a relationship, we can't find the problem. If we can't find the problem, we can't find the solution. That's like saying, I'll show you all the houses I can find that have 2 doors. That's all of them. Doesn't work. You need to figure out where they need to be, and in this market, if the more you can find out about what they exactly need, you can start looking off market. We've done a lot of off market and pocket transactions in the last 3 years because we could figure out what those people needed, and we went and knocked on doors, mailers, all those things to try and find somebody that's willing to sell to that person, maybe on a flexible timeline, maybe some value add for both people there. But if you don't know the problem you're trying to solve, you cannot find the solution.
Very good. Do we have any other questions? We'll take one more question.
So I'm speaking from a little bit of insight here, but I know you like to talk about systems a lot. You alluded to it a little bit earlier, but how does focusing on your systems early on in your career help you to the point even how it affects you even today, right? So whether it be knowing your systems or being efficient with them.
The reason I'm so big on systems, especially for newer agents, is I was the absolute worst at them. I absolutely ran my entire business out of my brain. I had a legal pad, I had a laptop, I had no CRM, I had no assistant, I had no showing assistant, I had none of it. And I could run really fast and I did pretty well until it came to a point that you realize things start falling off the table. And it's like, man, I really wish I would have done that differently. The reason that I think we're so adamant about systems for newer agents or agents moving over is because you're setting yourself up for the business that you intend to grow to, not where you're at right now. So if you have those systems and processes in place, you become scalable. If you become the next mega agent within our office and you have to start partnering with half a dozen different newer agents just to get your showings and appointments all covered, and you guys are all working together as a symbiotic unit, you're elevating the people around you, you can keep track of all that stuff. It's very hard to go back on these bad habits, and that's why I love seeing newer agents come in the business that are willing to engage in the systems and learn, because they're setting themselves up for success down the road. And that's the big reason we focus on it. We know it will help you now, and we know it will help you later.
Okay, go ahead, one more question.
So, going back into kind of lead generation, how do you, because we talk about staying positive and that's what you do for your daily win, but especially when you take a big loss, either your client's bought a house with someone else, or things that you can't control, how do you stay positive and not let your foot off the gas because of it?
Well, it's there's an old adage in real estate. It's like when all else fails, lead generate, right? If everything falls apart, go find more business. There's people being born every day. That has to be your focus. But yeah, everybody takes losses, and yeah, they bum you out. But you can't harbor those. You have to kind of move on. I've had a lot of things go sideways. I've had close friends that I worked with that went to an open house and got excited and signed a contract, right? And whose fault is that, right? It's mine, probably. I could have stayed in front of them better than I did. I could have done things differently, right? If you take an extreme level of ownership over those things and make your peace with it, I think it'll really help with that. And yeah, of course, losses are not great, right? Something goes sideways, nobody's happy. Deals blow up, deals come back together. That's part of the business. You can't be as emotionally entangled with the actual transaction as you are with wanting to service the people. If you get too emotionally invested in your transactions, if you have 3 deals fall apart in the same week, you're going to be a mess. When what you should be focusing on is, hey, client whose deal fell apart, how am I helping you now? It's very difficult. You have to really have we talk a lot about being a little stoic in terms of our emotions being involved with our business. Because truthfully, it doesn't matter. The clients have not necessarily engaged us for a service. We say we serve, but they haven't engaged us for a service. Nobody is going to hire you and say, I want you to try and sell my house. They're hiring you to sell their house, find their home. They're hiring you for an outcome. And how we get to that outcome is our business. So it's hard to do that. And a lot of people get really involved with it. Normally, if you get too emotionally involved in a transaction, the agent-to-agent relationship becomes adversarial and the clients aren't necessarily winning. All
right. Wow. Thank you, Chris. That was really amazing. We so appreciate you, and it's great doing business with you. He's a wealth of information. We could probably be here for another 2 days. And I have an inspiration, so next time we're going to do it a little differently. So wait for that and be there for it. But thanks so much for watching.